Hey, welcome to Super Social Club. I'm Jeremy.
This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob.
Welcome to the Whiskey Rant podcast.
It's a little crusty.
It's frustrating.
And it's going to be a little bit of a rant.
I don't understand it. I don't know why.
Some sort of injustice.
Anyway, end rant.
Hello and welcome back to the Whiskey Rant podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Rob.
And we are doing this remotely tonight due to COVID restrictions, but happy to get some content out. It's been a while since we've done a rant.
Yeah, we haven't been able to get together. It's been kind of frustrating for us, and I think we're starting to feel it from the people that listen to us too. Like, well, when's the next whiskey rant? I keep getting.
Yeah, I have heard some murmurs. When are you guys getting together for another rant? Blah blah blah. So yeah, happy to get some content out to you guys tonight. We are taking a page from the Whiskey in the Six channel and doing our top 6 overpriced and overrated whiskeys of 2020.
That's right. Overrated, overpriced, baby. Let's get it.
Yes. All right. So how do you want to do this? I got 6 written down. You got your 6. Should we just start from 6 and go to 1? Is that what you want to do?
Yes. So we'll go 6s, 5s, so on and so forth. So we would both share, and obviously 6 being the least egregious of the 6, 1 being the most.
Right.
Right. So I think this list might actually even surprise you well, maybe not. I want to know. So we should tell these guys, we actually don't know what we chose.
We don't know each other's lists, right?
We don't know each other's lists. And I almost wanted to say, let's write these down on cue cards and then we could do the reveal and just show. But I think they trust us enough to believe that we don't know.
But before we get into that, let's talk about the whiskey that we picked for our value whiskey tonight. Something that is not overrated or overpriced. Actually, really good value. It's the Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength batch 4.
Yeah, this is a beauty. For those of you that have not watched my Whiskey of the Year video, little spoiler alert right here. The batch 3 made my top 6, which for a 10-year-old, that's not very Whiskey in the Six like.
So we're getting Oloroso sherry, PX sherry, and virgin casks in this, coming in at 56.1% ABV. Review this one before. You can check that out if you haven't already. People were telling me they're picking this up for $60 US. Just outrageously good value at that price for sure. We paid around 120 or so to the door, delivered Canadian dollars. Still thought that was a really good value.
Yeah. I mean, shipping twice. We definitely paid to get it here and to be one of the first to have it a premium, but that was still retail and still reasonable in my opinion. Yeah. I would definitely pay $150 for this bottle.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's well worth it. The quality you're getting on this is really, really good. Also on tonight's show, we'll be talking about in the Whiskey Tube news, touching on a couple channels that made it possible for their viewers to get some rarer whiskeys coming out of the Daffmill distillery. And one channel that really does a really cool job of taking you inside a liquor store, the shopping experience, and the various price differences of whiskey in their area. So we'll touch on that. And of course, our secondary market find will continue with the Daffmill theme and show you how much this small little lowland distillery is commanding on the secondary market these days.
Yeah, it's pretty astonishing, actually.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get into it. Why don't you take the honors and start us off with your number 6, overrated or overpriced?
Okay, so, I mean, some of these, there's no surprise, but I want to focus on things that either came out this year or had an impact in the market in some way this year. Things that maybe I didn't even try it, but I avoided for cost reasons, for the price reason. And my number 6 is the Bunnahabhain Manzanilla. So this whiskey is going for close to $300. It's, I believe, between 9 and 11 years old, something like that, maybe a bit older. Do you know exactly how old this one is?
I don't know.
So the Bunnahabhain Manzanilla, it's a younger whiskey. Yes, it's cask strength. Yes, it doesn't have, color. There's an age statement on it and all those different things. But $300 almost. Like, I mean, I think that's a little bit absurd for a low teen to not even maybe 10 years old. Some of these Bunnahabhains are absurd. I've mentioned Bunnahabhain. We've mentioned Bunnahabhain on our rants before.
Yeah.
But this one in particular really pissed me off, and I had to keep away from it this year.
Bunnahabhain doing all these, wine cast finishes nowadays, coming out as limited releases, commanding a huge amount on the secondary market. For pretty young whiskey. I mean, some of it's good, but again, the prices just do not seem to equal the quality for most of them. Anyway,
and I think a lot of people were pretty not upset with this one, but they were like, it was just okay. And sorry, for $300, when you're a young whiskey, you better be absolutely incredible to be commanding that kind of price.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Completely agree.
Anyway,
all right.
So that's my number 6.
All right, my number 6. This is a distillery that I've voiced my opinion on quite a bit this year. Disappointed with what they've come out with because I had so much hype around it. And my number 6 is going to be the Ardbeg 19-year-old. A bottle that I had so much hype for. And yeah, what it was cost $400 Canadian, $300 US in some markets. And, a 19-year-old Ardbeg, I'm thinking this is going to be something amazing. And I still like their core range expressions more. I think it's completely overvalued for what you're getting. And also overhyped. A lot of people giving this whiskey a big score. I just do not agree at all. I thought it was lackluster, to say the least. And for the price you're paying for that, not in agreement with Ardbeg 19. I also would throw in Wee BC as a little secondary there too. I was really hyped for Wee BC, and no, didn't like it that much. And you're almost paying the exact same price as the 10-year-old, and the 10-year-old, in my opinion, blows it away. So Ardbeg, number 6 on the list.
Yeah, you know what? One of our buddies bought a bottle. Actually, I bottle split it with him of the batch 2, and we opened it up. We both had a try of it, and I wasn't blown away, and I thought I would be because the batch 2 is rated even higher than the batch 1. Mm-hmm. And I remember liking the batch 1, but I also probably had direct from the distillery samples of the batch 1. It wasn't in a bottle. It was given to me in a 100 milliliter sample jar. And I really liked it. I never officially scored it. I thought it was going to be good. And then a whole bunch of people reviewed it and loved it. And then I remember watching yours, and it kind of made me second guess buying it because it is a lot of money. So yeah.
And I remember trying that distillery sample that you had, and then trying the actual bottling, and noticed a big difference.
Yes.
And I can't stand when distilleries do that. I mean, I guess they do it for a reason, but to bottle something or to bring something to an event, to like an unveiling of your new product, and something that's, is going to be different from when the whole vatting goes together, it's frustrating for me. And I've experienced that a couple times, and it's unfortunate.
They must have like some analytics that show that if someone tries a whiskey ahead of opening their own bottle, there's a good likelihood that they're never going to open that bottle. So maybe that's why they do it.
I don't know. I just think that, they're pulling a cask or two that they know is better than the remainder of the cask they're going to make up the vat. I mean, I think,
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 5?
My number 5 was a whiskey that from the get-go, I knew this was going to be a flop. It was hyped up by the people that were peddling this whiskey before it even was revealed what it actually was going to be. I'm talking about the Cavallon French wine cask. So I love Cavallon. I think they're great. But this one in particular had all kinds of red flags for me because off the get-go, they weren't telling us what the cask was going to be. It was this big anniversary style, like type bottle. The master distiller was going to sign all the bottles or the stickers that could go onto the bottles afterward.
Yeah.
And then they finally revealed it's French wine, which is cool. A lot of people got excited about that. And then they revealed the price. And the price was a lot more than what, you can get a Vino Barrique for, or even our favorite, one of our favorites, the Virgin Oak,
Right.
like almost double than what a Virgin Oak was going for early on. So yeah, that French wine, I kind of called it being a flop. And then the moment we tried it, I was ashamed that I didn't listen to my gut and not buy that bottle because it was like $450 and not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that one. Usually all the Catalan stuff that we get is good. That one definitely was probably, I would rate it probably one of the lower ones, but the price, I mean, obviously you can't excuse the price for that, right?
Yeah, it was expensive. It was expensive.
My number 5 is not a release that happened this year, but it was a whiskey that I tried for the first time this year. It was something that I was wanting to try forever. It was the one BTAC bottling that I had not had yet. I ended up buying a sample from someone in a secondary group. It was a 2017 bottling of the Eagle Rare 17-year-old. So I had lots of hype. This was back when they used to bottle it at 90 proof instead of the new, I think it's 101 now or 107. So back when it was 45% ABV. Poured this out, thinking it's going to be, a really good bourbon, and just completely disappointed with it. So much so that I went out and I pulled out my Eagle Rare 10-year-old and tried it side by side and didn't notice like that much of an improvement on the 17. Now I know batch just do vary, and I know a lot of people hype the new release ones, last year's and this year's being at the higher ABV, but man, what a huge disappointment. And secondary market on Eagle Rare 17 for the old ones, still a lot of money. Still, you're looking at, I don't know, $600 or so, maybe even more. I can't even remember.
Yeah,
but so much money. And yeah, one of my biggest disappointments of whiskey I tried this year that I thought was going to be good, that just was very, very average.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Lower proof bourbon never works, in my opinion.
Yeah, 45 seems like it's even way too low nowadays,
Yeah. Well, I'm on number 4, I guess, and perfect segue to lower proof bourbon, because the only Blanton's I've ever liked was that straight from the barrel that you let me try.
Right.
Blanton's pretty much everything makes my number 4, specifically the gold, but the other ones suck too. And what bothers me about Blanton's is if it shows up on shelves, people will literally kill their mother for that bottle. And I think there's a 40% version that sells out at an astonishing rate. There's a 46% version that sells out pretty quickly.
46.5, I think it is.
There you go, yeah. And then the gold is like literally gold. Like I think people actually think that the lid is made out of gold or something, because that's the only explanation for why that bottle is so popular, because I think it sucks. And it's like it's got to be chill filtered. It's thin as hell.
It is.
It's a basic bitch, basically, is what it is. I don't understand why people are so obsessed with it, but it makes me angry actually a little bit, because they're selling this bottle in stores in Alberta for $300.
Oh my God.
And I don't blame these guys, because what's happening is taters are walking into these stores, cleaning off the shelves when they're priced at $100 a bottle, and then selling them for $350. So why shouldn't the store owner get his hands in on some of that? Because I don't know, it's just a bit of a joke.
I will save my comments on blends because it did make my list as well, and I'll go through my opinion on it when I get there.
Beauty.
But my number 4 coming in, a whiskey that I thought I would really like again, another like, semi-disappointing pour, and that's going to be the Long Row 21. Tried it at our good friend Jasper's place. Just underwhelming. Something that I thought would be really good. I don't know if it was just the year. This would be the 2019 bottling, I guess. Just didn't feel it. It wasn't something like, Springbank quality. I just thought that the casks they selected for were just kind of average. I didn't think that the heavier peated malt did it justice. Just kind of lackluster for me on that Long Row.
Yeah, you know what? I was lucky enough to try the batch 2 as well, and the first batch, like I had like rose-colored glasses on when I first reviewed that, and then because of all the work it took me to get that bottle, and then afterwards I sat back and I really thought about it, and I was like, you know what, this was pretty disappointing, and I'm not happy with how I like marked that bottle and whatever else. And then Jasper let me try the batch 2 recently, and I was not impressed at all. It was probably, I had like 4 whiskeys that night, and it was the worst of the 4.
Do you remember price on that bottle?
I think it's close to $500, like 400 Canadian, I want to say, on average. But
yeah,
way
overpriced in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, what do you got? We're on number 3 for you.
Number 3 is gonna be another everything kind of rant. My number 3 is Deanston, literally everything lately. I don't know what it is about Deanston, but they tend to invite this note in their whiskey that obviously is no secret to the channel, no secret to the rants. I absolutely hate it. I think it's disgusting. And they seem to find it in so many of their expressions. The cream sherry was literally just okay. The French brandy, or the brandy cask, it was a waste of money. It's probably good for cocktails, but I don't even know if I would try it in a cocktail. Kingston has not had a good rap with me lately. Just miss after miss, and I don't think I'll ever spend my money on a Deanston expression again. It's too bad, because back in the day, the Bordeaux, the PX, those were awesome. But I don't know what it is. I'm not a fan these days.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think, that Deanston may have like peaked with those like Bordeaux, and the 10-year-old PX was so good. I think that, when distilleries expand their product range so much, it just seems like it hurts. And I get that they obviously make a big profit doing that because they release stuff and it's all limited and what else and so forth. But it just seems as soon as they do that, as soon as they expand their product line, quality just dips.
Yeah. I think you're seeing it throughout that entire company, right? Like they're kind of trying the same stuff with Bunnahabhain and Tobermory and Lejeune. And when they were sticking to their original stuff, all 4 of those brands flourished. Now, because of the new craze with all these wine casks, and they're trying to pull over all that bourbon fan base into the Scotch fan base, and it's working, but there's a lot of missteps along the way, and the people that were always with Scotch are noticing, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because Deanston had some really good stuff, and just too much too quick, I feel, for them.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, number 3 on my list. So this is a whiskey I haven't even tried yet, but it's a whiskey that has been jumped up in price significantly, and it's the Octomore. The new Octomore line, the 11s, almost doubled in price for us overnight. I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, we did get them for a good price globally. I get that. Paying around 150, 160 Canadian dollars, and now you're looking at like $300 Canadian for this. and it's just priced me out of wanting to get them. I mean, I'm a big Octomore fan, love the Octomores, especially the 0.3s. But am I expecting this Octomore 11.3 to be that much better than, you know, the 10.3 or the 9.3? I can't see it being, you know, that much more that it would justify almost paying double the price for it. So Octomores have got me. I haven't bought them, and that's just a rare thing because I usually buy the 0.1 and 0.3 every single year, and I've just not done it this time.
Yeah. Well, I guess instead of adding my commentary, my next on the list, my number 2, is also Octomore 11 series,
Okay.
for pretty much all the same reasons you said. Like, we're used to paying mid 100s for this bottle that's now literally doubled in price, which blows my mind because at the end of the day, I know it's a fancy bottle. I know it's a fancy tin. I know it's got all the hype around it, and it's got all kinds of things that are breaking records with the ppm levels and all these different things. But at the end of the day, it's a 5 or 6 year old whiskey. Last year, the 0.3 was a 3-year-old, or was it the 0.4 was a 3-year-old whiskey.
Yeah.
So we're talking about entry level whiskey, or sorry, very young whiskeys anyway, that don't cost a lot of money to produce because they're so young that the turnaround is so easy. You don't need a lot of storage for these guys because you're going to turn it over in 5 years. So literally there's no reason why these should be so expensive other than the quality. So we really love the quality. But now you start to weigh that quality versus something that we both tried recently, which is, or revisited anyway recently, which is the Lefroy 10-year-old, which is 100 American.
Right.
And you have stuff like the Kilkerran heavily peated. This is batch 3 now, and they're sub $100 Canadian. So you're looking at around $85, $90 Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
So cask strength whiskey, heavily peated from Campbelltown. And I'm looking at this at $90, and then the Octomore over here at 300. I'm going with the $90 Campbelltown all day long, every day, right? So, yeah, that's my number 2. I just really upset. I was already starting to get upset with Octomore because I felt like they were just doing the same thing year in, year out, calling it something different and trying to rail in all these collectors.
Yeah.
And now they've gone overboard, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, especially when they're just using, you know, ex-bourbon casks. I get that those are probably some of their better casks that, you know, have taken their spirit really well and matured it really well in a short amount of time. I still think there might be some older whiskey in those. I know it is a 5-year age statement, but I still think they blend in some older stuff. It definitely doesn't taste that youthful to me. But still, I mean, when you're selling it 1 year and the next year you almost double your price, you know, you're not doubling your quality, you're not doubling your costs, I wouldn't think at all. So really just unjustified for the price increase and unfortunate for sure.
I wonder, honestly, I wish they would actually reveal, like, hey guys, there's a lot older whiskey in this. We just call it this and that. We call it 5, we call it 6, because the Scotch Whisky Society encourages us to. They don't allow us to reveal what's in there. But just know that you're getting a much older whiskey than what's actually being revealed.
Yeah.
Then do that, right? Because then at least you can kind of justify the dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do think that heavy peat really masks youth. I think that's the whole purpose of it.
For sure. Right.
All
right, let's go to my number 2. This is kind of like a distillery in general, but specifically a bottle, and it's going to be the Macallan, and specifically the Macallan 18 triple cask. This whiskey, I was fortunate enough to try. Our good friend Cam gave me a sample of it, but wow, just a pretty basic, very light, not overly complex whiskey. And, you know, prices on these, $390 for one of these out in Alberta, and they're sold out, which is just mind-boggling to me. Did not think that the whiskey is justified with the price at all. Same with like most of Macallan products these days. It seems like the prices are just way up there. I think we're looking at for the new edition 6, you know, $200 at the LCBO. Just unbelievable how they price these products, and they still sell out all the time. So I guess they're doing something right. But for me, that Macallan 18 triple cast, very basic, and just completely overpriced for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. And honestly, you could tell that we're on the same wavelength, and I'm going to tell you why in just a sec. But that one in particular bothers me because the word is out, and people know whatever Macallan they buy will go up exponentially in value. Doesn't matter if it's an age statement, doesn't matter if it's really limited or not limited at all. It always goes up in value on secondary markets. So this encourages the company to continue to put out a subpar product. And literally you put that 18-year-old up against any other 18-year-old almost in the Scotch industry, and it'll probably lose.
Yeah.
And it's twice the price, if not sometimes 3 times the price of others. So it's really sad. You can get an Aaron 18-year-old, which I think destroys that Macallan 18-year-old triple cast that you mentioned, for $120 Canadian.
Yeah.
So my number one is the Macallan Edition 6. Now, I like this whiskey. And why this is so egregiously overrated and overpriced to me is that it was a 6 series limited series, right? 6 edition limited series. 1 was incredible, and 2 probably like just as good. But we noticed a steady decline in quality.
Right.
Steady decline in quality, and what continued to increase was the price. So they're using less and less quality barrels in these whiskeys, and increasing the price to now what you just said, which is $200 Canadian for the Edition 6. And I've seen the cost on these and what what stores are bringing these in for, and it's not that cheap. Like, we were able to get these edition bottles for less than the cost last year, the year before, the year before that. The price just keeps going up, and the expectation seems to be just going down. I mean, Mike and Narby absolutely raped this whiskey, gave it 74 or something like that. Yeah. I didn't think it was that bad, but I do understand what their thinking was. And it's, you're charging an absurd amount of money for a whiskey that you probably just threw together. It wasn't anything special, wasn't your older barrels, wasn't your better quality casks. You're just putting it at 48%, 48.6 to be precise, and all of a sudden this is your most expensive of the series.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Pure moneymaker for them, for sure. And disappointing, because Macallan, used to be able to get their 12-year-old sherry cask in the US, 43% ABV for like, 50, sometimes even like $40. And that was such a great buy. And I remember when I first started my channel, like recommending that one. But now, prices have gone up, the color of that whiskey has gotten lighter and lighter, maybe more second fill barrels in there, and they're just dipping right off the deep end, and they're pricing out the people that like their whiskey. They're just pricing them right out of the market. It's like, what Macallan can you go and buy nowadays? Like, even if you want the 12-year-old sherry here in Ontario, it's 150 Canadian dollars. It's like, it's crazy. It's just out of control. So yeah, I think that Macallan really needs to rework their whole strategy. I mean, I guess they're making so much money, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, people are just keep dumping on their product over and over again. So
I wonder if they just bottled that one, that 12-year-old that you're talking about, the one that was available all over the US for, like you said, close to $50. Some places maybe closer to 60, but whatever, around that price range.
Yeah.
At 48.1, 48.2, 48.3.
It'd be so good.
It would be one of their best whiskeys that they've ever bottled, So it's just sad that I don't know. Do they need us to tell them that, or do they know and they just don't care?
They don't care. I don't think they care. I think they've established their brand so much that Macallan is still looked upon as, the go-to Scotch whiskey, the posh whiskey that, you drink on special occasions. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's being overshadowed by everyone that knows anything about whiskey. That's for sure.
absolutely.
All right, let's get to my number one. I mentioned I had this one before. It was on your list. It's the Blanton's Original. I just think that Blanton's, if you watched my channel this year, you saw me just literally drop that bottle onto the floor in some of my videos. The love for this, I think it's all marketing. I think it's the bottle design. I think it's the collector top, because it's definitely not the whiskey, because the whiskey is very, very average at best. It's decent, but now you're looking at these prices increases. Even the LCBO, where we get Blanton's, pretty readily. Like you can find it at least a couple times a year. They bring in quite a bit of it. Used to be around $56. Now we're up to $70, and it's flying off the shelf because guys here are buying it and they're flipping it to U.S. groups because a lot of places in the U.S. it's super hard to find. A lot of states you can't find a bottle of Blanton's at all. You take a look at these little liquor stores. They get a couple bottles and they're putting a $200 price tag on it. They're putting a $300 price tag on it. It just goes up and up. And it's got to be my number one for sure. Just overrated and now definitely overpriced.
Yeah, it's honestly, I never understood it, but when I tried that straight from the barrel, I kind of got it. It's like, okay, everybody's trying to recreate this experience. So that straight from the barrel was excellent stuff, but I never liked the gold. I remember reviewing this and being like, what does everybody see in this whiskey? It's so paper thin, even at 50+%. Just not for me at all. And there's way better bourbons out there that you do not have to pay secondary prices for.
Yeah, I think that was my takeaway too. I did the 4 core range Blantons, and yeah, the straight from the barrel was the only one worthwhile repurchasing, in my opinion. Definitely the one to get, and it's well priced outside of the U.S. I mean, they now started they started releasing it in the U.S. nowadays, but only in international markets before. But great price, like €60, €65. You can find it for in some UK countries, but I think they want $150 for it retail now in the States, and obviously those don't last. They get souped up and then resold. So yeah, just the Blanton's train. I don't know why it's just chugged along so well, but it is.
Yeah. So what do you think? Should we review this and then move on to our what's happening in YouTube, or do you want to review this last?
Yeah, we can review it and then we can maybe just score it at the very end, because it is something that is the opposite of what we just talked about. It is something that's well priced and super good quality. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell they put some effort into cask selection here. Like, look at the color on that bad boy. This is a 10-year-old whiskey. Virgin oak. What do we say? We said Oloroso and bourbon cask, or was there PX in there as well?
PX, Oloroso, and Virgin oak.
Yeah, so they're using good quality stuff, and it is limited, but it's not like insanely limited. I get so you get all the things that you would expect from a whiskey this color when we're talking Scotch. You get like all that, like the sherry goodness and all that kind of stuff, but there is like a really nice hit of like a vanilla cream or something in there as well.
Yeah, I think that Virgin oak cask is putting in some sweetness that just works well with the sherry sweetness too, like that PX sweetness that you normally get. Just whatever this Virgin oak cask, you're getting kind of like like a marshmallow kind of sweetness, kind of cotton candy note too. It's just delicious whiskey. It adds like an extra layer of complexity to it. It works well. And I think it's maybe like a trend you'll see, because Virgin oak, obviously easiest to source. And if you can get some good results like this, why not?
Yeah. I think Billy Walker did a good job of balancing it too, because sometimes when you do Virgin oak alone with a Scotch, it might be a little too oaky.
Right.
But when I don't think too many people have tried this balancing act that Billy Walker is doing, and he's doing a really great job with it. I
Mhm.
really like this. Honestly, I think it's great stuff.
He's nailed this one for sure. And you're right. The oak balance on here is pretty perfect because the oak does not stand out. It doesn't overwhelm me whatsoever. It's very well integrated with the rest of the notes. So
That's right.
great stuff. I gotta get more of this.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is we got to wait now till it gets to Alberta, which is almost like a year behind
Right.
the UK for the most part. So,
yeah.
But good stuff for sure. I mean, I'm halfway through, so I'll enjoy the rest of this, and then maybe I'll open.
And this fill level, this is the money zone right here. When you first get this bottle, if everyone's grabbing it, give it some time because it does. Being at cask strength, it does need to open up a bit.
Yeah.
And but now this thing is just pure money zone right now. It's so
I
good.
agree.
It's so good.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to what's happening in YouTube. So we're talking about a couple channels here. The first one we wanted to mention is Whiskey Mystery. Really good channel. Used to be Captain 3D, right?
Yeah.
Our boy Phil.
Our boy Phil, yeah. Good guy. Great guy, actually. And you could tell that he cares about transparency because he's traveling store to store across California, which tends to have well-priced whiskeys. And he's doing these basically, I guess, vlog style, just how would you categorize this? Like,
I would categorize it as like a virtual whiskey hunting experience. So he's literally just like taking a camera in and it's like, here's a liquor store. Let's go take a look, see what the prices are at. And it gives you a really good idea of kind of like different markets and how whiskey is being priced in different locations, right? He hits big stores like Total Wine, like Costco. And then he goes to like the small, like mom and pop shops. They're, super small, but have like these little hidden gems here and there. And that's when you also see the prices of some of these bourbons, right? Like I'm pretty sure he walked into a store and saw a $200 price tag on a Bland's Original. All those allocated bourbons, you just get to see kind of what store owners are thinking that they may or may not get. Sometimes, like I've mentioned on my channel a million times before, a lot of those places just like to have the bottle on their shelf as like a trophy and they can, show it off and they put a huge sticker on it. Someone buys it, then so be it. But they can always say like, I have this whiskey in stock. And
yeah, I think you're right about that actually.
Yeah.
That's a very, very, very good point. Yeah. So I like what he's doing. I think more people hopefully will flock towards his whiskey channel because it works for everybody. He goes through all the sections. He doesn't just like he likes Scotch. I think he prefers Scotch maybe over most whiskeys, but he'll go to the Irish whiskey section. He'll go to the Canadian whiskey section. He'll go to the bourbon section, like you said. So I think that's pretty cool. I think he's doing a cool thing out there.
Yeah, and I mean that's just one aspect of his channel. The other aspect, he does a really cool thing, tastings with his wife Deepa, and they do everything blind. So they have a whole wall of whiskey behind them. They randomly pick a number. Everything's decanted into bottles, and whatever number they pick, they grab it and they try it for the first time. They try like decipher what they're tasting. They have a list of like 100 different bottles. It's a really kind of cool way of going about a blind tasting. So definitely check out their channel. It's definitely worthwhile. Great content. Whiskey Mystery. We'll link to it down below.
Yeah, and our second one for tonight will be another guy named Phil.
Yes.
Our boy from Whiskey Wednesday. Love this guy's content as a whole. I think, dare I say, I prefer it to the previous, although I really like the other guy. I think his name was Joe. Really nice, really cool reviewer as well. But Phil's doing a great job. He's taking this channel to the next level. I love the music that they play. I love the ambiance. He works at a liquor store in the UK. He's been banging out some awesome reviews and really cool what he did recently with the Daft Mill. So I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so just wanted to mention, so Whiskey Wednesday, I just trust Phil's palate. I feel like we're on the same wavelength with whiskeys, and I can take his word for quality when he talks about whiskey. So definitely something that you value when watching a reviewer is can you trust their palate? And I definitely do with Phil's. Really, really good. So we want to talk about Daft Mill. Something that's going crazy on secondary markets right now. A lot of buzz in the whiskey world. Something that is hard for a lot of people to try. And I did a really cool thing. Daft Mill did an exclusive bottling for their whiskey shop, and Phil kind of gave out some samples to his viewers. A little giveaway, and tried enough for himself, shared around the shop, and then the rest of the bottle was all divvied up in samples and distributed to his viewers. So really cool.
Yeah, awesome, because I think the store was given that bottle, and they could have kept it for themselves. They could have just shared it amongst the people that work there or whatever else, but they decided to share it with fans of the channel, which I think is a really cool thing that they did. I think you're bang on with trusting Phil's palate. He recently reviewed a couple of things that I've been hunting for because of his opinion of them. So I really trust his palate as well. I think he knows his way around the Scotch, and he's one of those guys that, like, you always look for those channels, because there are, unfortunately, I mean, it's not unfortunate. Everybody has a different palate. Everybody has different taste. And you will be recommended a whiskey on WhiskeyTube that maybe you don't like yourself. It's going to happen. But he's one of those guys that if he gives something an 8.5, a 9, a 9.5, I'm listening, because he's got a great palate.
For sure. We also want to mention our good friend Ralphie did a similar thing with Daft Mill. Since everyone's trying to get their grubby little hands on Daft Mill bottle, Daft Mill did a cask bottling for Ralphie through, I think, the Good Spirits company, which is a store in Glasgow, if I'm not mistaken. So Ralphie reached out to all of his Patreon supporters and was like, "You guys can get first dibs on this bottle to buy it through their store there." So really cool thing. Unfortunately, it was just they would only ship to UK and other areas, not overseas. Unfortunately, I would love to get my hands on a single barrel from Daft Mill. But yeah, another cool thing Ralphie did, reaching out to his patrons and like letting them have some of that. I think there's someone I think there is a whiskey reviewer who got one, and now I can't think of if that actually happened or not. I'll throw it in here if I can find it. But yeah, lots of distilleries reaching out to Ralphie to bottle something in his name right now, which is really cool.
Yeah, you notice that happening a lot lately. I think I was reading recently there was a couple, so it is pretty cool that they're doing that. You have a couple Daft Mills, or at least one.
Yeah, so by the time this airs, I have released a Daft Mill rundown. So I did do a review of the 2008 UK summer release. That one's up already, and I just did a video, the whole tasting set from Spirit of Toronto, which was 4 samples of Daft Mill, one standard release, and 3 cask samples. So like single cask samples. And check that one out if you haven't already. Really good stuff coming out of Daft Mill for sure. They're super low production, equals high secondary market command for their products. So yeah, check out that review. You'll get my full opinion on what I think of the Daft Mill distillery and whether the secondary market is justified with their prices or not. And I guess that's probably a good segue to get into our secondary market find segment. So it's going to be Daft Mill. Just looking at UK auctions for Daft Mill, just crazy money. if you want to get one of their inaugural releases, one of their very first bottlings, you're looking at around 1,700 British pounds. And we found a whole bunch of bottlings that kind of got sold in a kind of unique way. So this was something that Daft Mill did. They bottled, I think, around 150 or so bottles to distribute to like independent bars in Scotland, to be sold kind of like by the dram, something that could reach out and a lot of people could try their product. Unfortunately, for COVID reasons, a lot of those pubs are not open. So they put up some of these bottles to auction. So it was kind of like a charity kind of thing where the proceeds would be split evenly between all those pubs and bars that were kind of struggling during COVID times. So we got them here. Rob, you saw these. You know how much these are going for?
So yeah, I'm reading it right now. So the highest one seems to be 4,900 pounds.
4,900 pounds a bottle. Yeah.
That's absurd. That's, for those of you that don't know, that's like almost, well, that's $8,500 Canadian.
Right.
Probably what, like $6,000 American, something like that.
Yeah. 6,500 US, something like that, maybe a conversion
Wow.
rate.
And this, so am I mistaken in saying that these guys started their distillery in 2008?
I believe they started in 2004, 2005, and they didn't bottle anything until 2013, 14, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think the youngest distillate is 2006. Yeah, so they opened 2000. They started 2005, and I think their first stuff they started releasing was 2006 distillate.
So currently, I'm drinking a 27-year-old Glendronach Grandeur Batch 10 that was given to me. I think you got a sample as well from our buddy Jasper. And I wouldn't pay 5,000 quid for this whiskey. I can't even imagine the thought process. Okay, so these ones are special because they are auction bottles for charity, you were saying.
Yes. Yeah.
But you did say that, what, 1,700 pounds was
one of their like inaugural releases. Yeah, one of their very first release. You're looking at around 1,700 pounds.
Man, all the power to them. I'm. It's cool to hear, but also scares me a little bit because it worries me when I start to think I have to pay secondary prices in order to get a bottle.
That's the thing.
I know you're not as worried about that kind of stuff as I am, but I hate doing it. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Even if I get $5 off a bottle, I feel a little bit better about life.
Well, here's the thing about Daft Mill, and I say this in my video. It's just like I paid secondary market prices to get a bottle once, and I think that to do that, to try it, to get a bottle is something that I'm okay doing. I'm not sourcing more Daft Mill bottles at secondary market prices, obviously.
Yeah.
But to get something once that doesn't come to your area at all, to try it, to try the hype. That bottle got shared around with my Patreons, and they got to try it. I mean, it's just something that I could share with people. Yeah, I did overpay for the quality, in my opinion, but I'm fine with doing that once. And
right.
And then you experience it, and then you kind of move on. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. I mean, you shared some with me. It was outdoors, and I still could like tell it was like high quality stuff. Like,
it is really good quality.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You could tell right off the hop.
Yeah.
And like I said, that was outdoors. I can imagine what that tastes like indoors. So hopefully when COVID is over and all this nonsense is put behind us, we can sit down with a dram of Daft Mill. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are some big prices that I wouldn't even feel comfortable paying for an established distillery. So I understand that there's high quality there, but I feel like sometimes like there's like these serendipitous moments where like you can't really explain why a distillery becomes so popular. It's just maybe I don't know. I don't know. All the stars align, and then for whatever reason, Dathmil got God's grace, and and that's it. I don't. There's no, for me, no other. You know, it's like the Big Bang Theory. It's like, for
I
whatever
think
reason.
like with Daft Mill, it kind of just started out as, one guy's passion to make really good whiskey. And I don't know if he was necessarily being like, oh, my objective of this is to make a profit. I think it's just like, I just want to make good whiskey. And I think that he just sells whiskey to, continue doing it. Um, and yeah, I mean, just like quality is so low. I think they only bottle like around 100 casks a year, so super low output.
Wow. Yeah.
And of course, that just drives the market, right? The less
Sure.
something, the more people want it. So yeah, check out my video for my full opinion on Daft Mill. Check out Ralphie reviews it. There's a couple other people that have reviewed some Daft Mill, so check out their opinions as well.
When's your video dropping?
By the time this airs, it already have dropped.
Okay.
So yeah,
Nice.
check it out.
So then they can go back and check it out. I'm
Yeah.
curious too, because yeah, no, I want to try a whole bunch of their stuff, but I mean, I think the best takeaway from all of the Dathmil situation is you can have a successful distillery if you're doing everything the right way.
Right.
And it could be young whiskey, right? I think the Canadian counterpoint to this is, for me, Shelter Point, because I think they're going to make waves in the whiskey market, and I think it takes a little bit longer for a Canadian whiskey to do that. But I think they have all the right ingredients. Like they're from grain to glass. They produce everything on their own farms in Vancouver, on Vancouver Island. They have that like ocean spray influence because they are off, they're an island off of, the ocean. I think they're going to be, and they have the climate that allows for slightly faster maturing than Scotland. So I think that's all, take all those ingredients in, and they're going to do some cool things, I think.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely agree. Yeah, they've got some good stuff coming out of there. It's nice to see some Canadian whiskeys, doing things how we want them to, how we want them done.
Yeah,
good quality whiskey. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right, well, I think that's it for us. Let's mark this bad boy. What are you going to give the Glenallachie 10-year-old cast strength batch 4?
I think this is a strong 89.5, 90. Like, it's got to be up there. I think I might slightly prefer the batch 3, but I didn't at first. So that could change with this as well. I reviewed the batch 3 and gave it an 88, and then, like I said, it went up probably about a half a point every time I revisited that whiskey.
Yeah.
And I would probably stick with like a 90.5 to a 91 for the batch 3. So I would give, this is probably a 90, and it might go up, it might stay where it is, but I think where it's at now is a 90.
Yeah, we're right on the same page. I have reviewed this one. I scored it 89 out of 100, and I gave it a 1.5 extra for value. Brought it up to a 90.5. I just think that, I mean, you can't go wrong if you love big, bold, cherried whiskey. This is a really cool one with lots of complexity, and I mean, get it if you see it for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's it for us, guys. Hopefully everyone had a happy holiday, and wishing everyone a happy new year. In the new year for the Whiskey Rant, hopefully we're going to get together a lot more and do a lot more episodes. I mean, this might be the way that we do it for the time being. And potentially some Whiskey Rant merchandise coming up in the near future, too. We're in the works on something like that, so... keep an eye out.
Get those coins going. Sorry, I don't have a cough. Well, actually, I do have a cough button, but we got to get those coins going.
Yeah, so look out for a Whiskey Rant coin in the upcoming months.
Yeah, happy holidays and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Sure.
Happy New Year's to everyone out there.
Happy New Year's. That's the one too.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Cheers, guys.